What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today, we're going to be focusing on the newest card, Namora, coming to the game on Tuesday. Our newest 5-cost card to hit the scene. And there's some differing opinions out there. Alex and I are going to talk about where the card works, where it doesn't, and our overall opinions on if you should purchase Namora. We're also going to be talking about locations. They're a huge part of Marvel Snap. We're going to be playing a game, love it, like it, or hate it, as we go through some of the most iconic locations within the game. And then we're going to be ending with our favorite segment, as always, talking about our favorite cards within the season at every cost. We're going to talk about that all today and more on this episode of the Snapchat. And as always, I am joined by the one and only Mr. Alex Kocha. Hello, buddy. We have another wonderful day of Marvel Snap, another wonderful week, and hello to you guys. Hope you're doing well. Alex, how's the week going? How's the Marvel Snapping?
It's been great, Cozy. Honestly, I've been having fun. I know the meta has thrown some challenges at us this week with some busts of some cards that might be a little bit of a pain in the keister. But at the end of the day, Cozy, it gives me an opportunity to be creative with some deck building. I can't play Silver Surfer anymore because my Silver Surfer don't work on turn 6. So I got to come up with other solutions, other cards, other decks. And anytime there's like a deck building consideration that has to be met, I'm excited. I'm stepping up to the challenge.
Yeah, Leech, it reminds me of like the early December of launch, where this might be the biggest fumble of an update probably ever to one singular card. Like, it's just in every single deck. Combo decks are in shambles. The community's in shambles. There's always a villain card, but like this time they gave you the villain, right? Like they just handed it. They gave us the spoon-fed villain. And actually, because of that, we might be talking about something similar to that on your side of the channel. What are we talking about?
Cozy, we'll be discussing Sage and giving our review on Sage. The card has been out, and I think it's impressed to some degree, but also I think some people have some reservations about it. We'll talk about Sage. We'll also be talking about our most hated cards and the most hated cards in Marvel's Snap, which just might include the little green alien we were just talking about. And then from there, we'll go into our Snapchat mailbag.
Well, man, I want to start off with last week we talked about apparel. Don't know how we got into that subject, but we were talking about it, and I mentioned I wore a lot of music graphic shirts growing up a little bit, and then I got a lot of comments, and they were asking me to ask you and myself, what music did we grow up listening to? And I think it tells a lot about a person, what music they listen to as a whole. And usually it's like, I like everything. It's great. I want you to give me like the history of what you listened to growing up. So like kick it back to like middle school, high school. What were you listening to then? And then college, and then kind of now.
That's funny you say that like, oh, I like everything's the callback. My go-to is I hate everything, to be honest with you. I kind of like listen to very specific subsets of music. When I was like in high school, I actually remember the first CD I ever got. I got like they called them like ghetto blasters. You guys remember what I'm talking about? Like you put on your shoulder. My parents bought me one for when I was like 8 years old or something like that, and they bought me Bush X Machine Head.
Oh, dude, breathe in, breathe out. Yeah.
So like that was my first CD. I don't even know if the CD was called Machine Head, but it was Bush X, and that was the song that was on it. I just listened to that one song over and over all the time, and I like thought it was so cool. I'm like, oh, look at this. And the thing, the speaker system actually had batteries, so I could put batteries in it, like walk around. Like when I say ghetto blaster, it literally that's what it was called, and I could like walk around the street with it and stuff.
In your tracksuit?
I 100% I was wearing an Adidas tracksuit. You know I was, right? And then as I got into high school, Linkin Park was huge. Ooh. I really got into Linkin Park, and I know that's something we share. I remember listening to like Meteora was probably my absolute favorite album. In the end, like I literally just tear up listening to that song all the time. I don't know. It's like there's so many emotional songs with Linkin Park that I feel like if you're angry, there's a song. If you're sad, there's a song. If you want to get hyped up, there's a song. And I don't know. Linkin Park probably was the band of my high school.
You're speaking my language, man. Yeah. So like, okay, first of all, I love it because I feel like I grew up a lot during the LimeWire era, right? Where it's like, man, you'd get 19 viruses. It doesn't matter. You just wanted to download illegal music because that was the best way to get it. And yeah, I got every Linkin Park song. I remember when Numb came out, number one, just the song Numb. And then when Jay-Z, oh my God, Jay-Z's addition to that was like, still listen to it to this day. One of the best freaking songs and collaborations. And R.I.P. Chester for those that like Linkin Park. Definitely agree. Yeah, and kind of like what was that? 3 Days Grace was kind of similar to Linkin Park. They had like kind of like angry music. To your point, I hate everything about you. I hate everything. And then they had kind of like sad stuff if you went through a breakup or whatever. I did a lot of rock. I felt like for sure. Then I got into like metal for a period of time. I had this like metal kind of screamo phase almost. And again, I opened up with everyone says they love everything. I did go through kind of everything from country to metal to, you know, Jack Johnson, like I went all over. Did you, I mean, you had to have a metal phase because Octavarium, Dream Theater.
Yeah, no, I never had like a hardcore metal phase, and like Dream Theater's like very like progressive metal. So what ended up happening was like I fell in love with Dream Theater, and I was like, I want to be a drummer. And I actually bought like a full set of drums, like spent all my money buying all these drums. I have like this massive wraparound kit that's huge. And I wanted to be a drummer. We started bands, I was playing music and all that stuff. And then it was just funny. And into my university years, that's what I did, right? I loved Dream Theater. I played a ton of metal stuff, double bass, the whole thing. And it was never like particularly good, but I just loved it.
We connected on that because I grew up playing drums too. I bought Truth drums, which are anyone who listened to Under Oath. It was Aaron's set, and I was big on a band called Under Oath. I'm gonna throw out a lot of like guys. If you listen to like Chiodos, Devil Wears Prada, there was like all these like screamo bands I used to be into back in the day, man. Silverstein maybe. But then I got into like Iron Maiden, man. I hit back like kind of 80s and 70s metal a ton, and that was because of just the rise of Guitar Hero, and I was like really big into that, and it kind of got me appreciating a ton of that style of music. And then what about like as you got older, and so Linkin Park, that era kind of left, what did you kind of transition into?
I mean, that's a good question. What I ended up really liking was like orchestrated music. And this is still remaining to this day. I have a massive collection of video game music, and not necessarily like I love chiptune, but like what I really like to listen to is like orchestrated soundtracks. One of my absolute favorite is the Mass Effect trilogy soundtrack. Lots of like emotional orchestral things in there. So many indie games have incredible soundtracks. There's just a bunch of incredible composers that work on like contract for smaller independent studios that are doing tremendous work. And so like a lot of the songs I listen to now don't even have lyrics, but they're very emotional, and I often will listen to them while I'm working, if I'm scripting or if I'm editing, because they keep me very focused.
Yeah.
And so I really do appreciate that. That's kind of what I listen to now.
Dude, it's funny you say that. So I went from the rock to, funny enough, man, a little bit of country in there, but then I went to like EDM and electric music. Like that was what I was about in college. Like everything about it from start to finish, DJs was like my jam. I loved it. It got me amped when I was working out, running. And then when I became a content creator, you can't use any of that music in your content. And I remember thinking, well, I'm wasting. Dude, as a content creator, you guys have to understand, you have to multitask every second of every day. And when I was working, I was like, I need to be listening to music that I can use in my videos and just play playlists. And if I like a song, I'm like, boom, I'm going to add it. And for those that are fans of the channel, you guys know I love layering just nostalgic music. I want you guys to watch a Snap video and be like, holy crap, The Wind Waker. What a beautiful orchestrated album. And that brings you back. Or Persona, Undertale. You guys have heard these before. So I do the exact same thing, man. I listen to video game music because it's almost all non-copyright. You can use it. And there's something powerful, man, about being brought back to these games. And you know a game slaps when the music can do that alone.
No, absolutely. I think that video game music is legitimately one of the most incredible arts out there. And I think in most games you take for granted the music. It doesn't pop out the way graphics do. You don't pay attention to it as much as perhaps you should, but a really good soundtrack really draws you into the experience.
Marvel Snap, funny enough, dude, not to just ride the coattails of Snap. I'm telling you, when I first started playing, I was like, dude, this slaps. Like the main game music of playing it, I was like, this is really good. And then of course, the main menu music each season, they have just nailed it season after season. The flavor of it, and they've crushed that too. But yeah, those that don't know, I work to when I'm working late at night, Skyrim soundtrack is still my go-to. It's like so peaceful, puts me in the mood. I think it's called Ambient Worlds. Does some really cool stuff if you guys want to check them out. But anyway, fun channel content. This isn't the mailbag, but I thought that was a fun way to open up, man. We'll get into the actual content now and start with the new card this week, guys. We have Namora. Now, I think Namor's in this game. I see him in Rivals. I don't really see him here, but this is Namora. And she is a 5-cost, 6-power card on reveal. Not ongoing, but on reveal. Give +5 power to each of your cards alone at another location. Now, I was lower on Blink. I was lower on Sage than Alex was. But I believe I'm higher on Namora. Alex, star ratings to kick us off, buddy.
So first impressions, I'd given it a 1 star in our first impressions video when we kind of went through it on the Snapchat
What?
originally, right? And that's because I think this card is really going to have a rough launch, and I still think it will. However, now that I've had a chance to really sit back, see how this meta starts to shake up, and give a little more time to what the deck building considerations might be, I'm going to raise it to a 2 star. I still think this card sucks. I still think that this card's not going to see much play, and I'd be happy to be wrong, because if I'm wrong, that means people that are accidentally pulling it from their caches are getting a win. But I think that this is going to be a very difficult card to get like a lot of power out of. It's just, it feels like a bit of a one-trick pony.
That's so crazy to me. You give it a 2. You gave Sage a 3. I don't remember you giving a 2 in quite some time. So like, you really must like, out of a lot of releases, this is up there in cards you hate.
I don't hate it. I just don't think it's going to be effective.
A 2. If I gave somebody a 2, like if I'm like, hey, you're a great friend, I'm going to give you a 2 out of 5. Yep, I would, if I was that friend, I'd be like, yeah, so Cozy hates me.
Yeah, I mean, if you gave me a 2 out of 5 on our friendship, I would be sad.
So a 2, okay, so I'm higher for sure on the card. And this is one that I'm going to be sad, man. Sad to be wrong on, but pumped if she is good, because I do see the potential here in Namora. Again, I was lower on the other ones. I'm higher in here. I think it was low on Valentina too. Finally, I'm coming in higher, man. I feel like Namora at base value is almost always in the right plan of 5'11". And that alone, we don't get a lot of those in the game. Obviously, we have Mockingbird. We have some cards that are close to it. She has more potential to pop off than just that, but a 5'11". And I love that it's on reveal outside of, obviously, Leech. Leech is the one thing that is going to hold her back a little bit. Very popular card at the moment, but I expect that to get OTA'd. I'm talking about as far as her state in the future as well. But we're going to talk about her synergies, why I'm going to back up that point a little bit. You're going to talk about, you know, what you do see in her. But let's start out with the spotlights, man. And I like this week. Yes, Scar is in there, and maybe it's not the greatest card. He's a decent one to add to the collection. I believe it's the first time for you to get him outside of the season pass. But Black Knight is in here, and if you don't have Black Knight by now, he is a no question. Grab him while you can. You get Namora too, so definitely not the worst spotlight. And after Alex's brutally honest review video and mine as well, if Namora ends up being a decently good card, then you have yourself a pretty solid week.
Oh, I agree, absolutely. I mean, Black Knight is definitely worth having in your collection. I think you have to have Black Knight in your collection. It's an archetype-defining card that gives discard a very unique approach to playing. And eventually, I mean, in theory, honestly, there's a chance that Black Knight might become a more staple version of discard with Leech being as prevalent as it is. It has a little bit of counterplay to that because you can get the value early on as opposed to the Hela that's kind of like the turn 6 pop-off. Scar, I think, sneakily adds itself to a lot of decks. It was an unfortunate casualty to the Thanos nerf, but I still think Scar is definitely, you know, a card that you want to have in your collection. Cozy, I got to go back for a second because you haven't given us your star rating. You said you were higher, but you didn't actually say the stars.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to lean near a 3.5, so edging towards the 4-star rating, getting really close to it, if not there. And the main thing is, okay, so there's a good number of decks with play patterns that can get her in there. Honestly, and fit her into what they're trying to do. First of all, people need to remember, you can set up one line. You can even have decks that have the Angela package, the Kitty Pryde, all that great stuff, and then just build one card into that other lane as a 4-drop. And there's going to be some cards that I'm going to throw out there as suggestions that can easily work into what that might be. You could also build up just like a solo Angela and then work on that and play some cards with movement abilities, which I think we're going to talk about here in a moment. So you've got a natural fit into decks you're already playing. But then we go back to it, but I do think this is one of those ramp cards that I enjoy. You play a 1-drop in the left lane, you play a 2-drop in the right lane. Maybe you don't even play a 1-drop because it's a ramp deck. But let's say for argument's sakes, you play a 1, you play a 2, you play the 3 in the middle. Boom, turn 4, you play Namora. Right dead in the middle. She is right then and there, a 5/16 to start you off, going crazy. You can have Odin in that deck, play it right on top of that, pop off again. Or you can play your other great 5 and 6 drops to go into that deck. I think because of that, and because she is a catch-all card in normal decks, that's where I see the value.
That's fair. I mean, you could turn your Electro on curve into an absolutely massive beast, right? You know, you play Jeff turn 2, you're usually skipping turn 1 if you don't draw your Nebula or something. Turn 2, you play your Jeff. Turn 3, you play Electro in a separate lane. Turn 4, you drop Namora. And it's also important to note here with Namora, and this might be something that players might get tricked up on. It doesn't have to be in the middle. It could be in any location, right? It can be left, right, center. It
Yep.
doesn't matter as long as the other cards are individually by themselves, right? So it does not have like a restriction the way Captain Marvel might, or not Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, I meant to say, where you want to play her middle. You can play her wherever you want, really, right? So I do like that idea there, where you can Electro and be on curve, and quite legitimately make your Electro a 3/7, a
Yeah.
3/7 that also ramps up your cards, right? So that is pretty cool. I do agree. There is definitely some potential there.
So if you think that's cool, here's these decks that I think she could play into. First of all, you mentioned Surfer. Yes, it's in shambles, and a lot of this I am speaking because of Leech does exist, but I don't like one card to pigeonhole an entire idea base. Silver Surfer. Shaw is in his lane most of the time by himself all the time anyway. I think that this card can kind of fit into a build such as that. But also, man, the thing where I think is crazy, and one card in particular that I don't think really people are thinking of like at all, and I liked the idea of this as a package in certain decks. We're going to go to it here. And actually, Sunspot is involved in the deck, so you can have him in the argument here. I think having Sunspot floating turn 5 and slamming She-Hulk down with Namora is awesome. You actually have potentially a 15 power She-Hulk as you play her down first, you play Namora second, and then you don't know what's on the other lanes outside of that. I think She-Hulk has some interesting synergy as a standalone 15 power card, just to be played with her as well, with the kind of, Sunspot package and whatnot.
I like that because you can even do that on turn 6 without the need of magic for turn 7, right? Because She-Hulk will be a 1-costed card, Namora being a 5-costed. You can make it all work within 6 turns. I like that a lot, Cozy. I actually had not thought about She-Hulk. Maybe that's why you're so much more excited about this card than I was.
Yeah.
Because I'm leaning towards some of the other ones, right? On some of the other synergies, but clearly this is a pretty damn good one too.
Yeah, so let's talk about those synergies. I think, I teased on it earlier, but where there's going to be some really massive, I don't want to say massive advantages, but we already know that move cards are really good. All right, because you're able to nope out a location, you're able to change your mind, and what can you do? You can have them alone in a lane, get the bonus, and then move somewhere else, Alex, right? So the one I want to kick us off with, there's plenty to talk about. I'll leave that to you. But man, can we talk about the potential of 4 cosplays into Namora at 5? And the one that I think is super sexy is Captain freaking Marvel. Imagine that. Captain Marvel, right lane, no big deal. Player, you play Namora. She's now Captain Marvel is a 410. One of the biggest, it's a Shuri size boost you give Captain Marvel because it's double her power. And then you can play back into Captain Marvel's lane. Doesn't matter. You just play the cards on there when you can. That one right there, I think, is one of the move cards people aren't thinking about that could get a big bonus here.
There's no question that Captain Marvel with 10 power can definitely sway the course of a game. I played Namora on turn 5 with Captain Marvel by themselves on turn 4. That allows you to play something even like a Red Hulk on turn 6. You could play it into the Captain Marvel location to give her the optionality to win one of the other ones in trade, right? Absolutely, there's no question. Because listen, there's nothing scarier than like sometimes movement-based cards that have the optionality to win the game in unique ways, or even bait your opponent to thinking, the mind games of what they're going to do. It's the classic vision problem, right? And Captain Marvel just does it for you. To the same extent, right? You could make the argument of saying, okay, what about even inexpensive cards, not as expensive as Captain Marvel? What about Jeffs that can be sitting in their own location? What about Nocturnes? What about, even Nightcrawlers? Nightcrawlers can be played if, relatively early in the game. You might have a ramp-based deck where you go Nightcrawler 1, Jeff 2, Electro 3, and then you play Namora on top of the Electro location, and Jeff and Nightcrawler get +5s. Those are hyper-mobile cards.
Yeah.
Jeff is a mobile 2/8 that can go anywhere. It's a legitimately insane stat line for a card that can just shut down entire archetypes.
Yeah, and we know they get played. We know these are plug-and-play cards, too. Move cards have that special niche of being plug-and-playable. And so you start to add in Captain, Jeff. These can work with Namora. Now, I don't think Namora, the fear I do have Namora is that is she always going to be the 12th best card in the deck? Like, is she going to be the Quake? We've had this discussion where it's like, okay, I'm doing all these things. Do I need to have Namora in this build? Like, do I have to have Namora in this build? That is obviously the initial worry. But speaking of move cards, outside of just Jeff, outside of Captain Marvel, those are the ones that I think are right that come to mind. I don't know if I love this, but hear me out. I've been really looking at the 4-cost cards. What about an old friend we haven't visited in quite some time in Werewolf by Night? You put him in alone in a lane at 4. You play Namora. Namora's going to do her boost first. Going to give Werewolf by Night +5. Werewolf is then going to hop to Namora's lane, gaining +2 power. I think that's going to work as well.
So it's basically a 7 power spike.
A 4/11.
The only concern is like, so then your turn 5, you have to be stocked with cards. That would mean that you'd have to like Falcon or something on turn 4 to make sure your board's clear. So you got this hand of like Nikos and Iceman.
Not really, though.
All those type of bouncy type styles, right?
Your Wolf, though, is 4/11 already, though, after that one move. So, yes, you would want to finish up 6 probably with an on reveal. Like, you'd probably want an on reveal in 6, but a 4/11, which if you play an on reveal, is now 4. Now you have a Werewolf, that's 4/13. Namora, I mean, it depends how you look at that. Namora is the 5/11, or Wolf is the, whatever. He's the one gaining the power, so we'll say for that argument's sake. But you have 6 power then on 5. Werewolf is sitting there at 11, ready to go to 13. And then you in turn 6 with just about anything. A Dr. Doom finish. I feel like you can have some big value cards here that are just trying to do what they're doing anyway. And this one's, kind of spiked my interest because you're giving power and you're gaining power at the same time. Kind of like Shaw.
Appreciate this. If you can kind of somehow resurrect the Werewolf by Night, I would love to see it. And I think you're correct. Even something as simple as a Dr. Doom into a weaker location to bring the power of the Werewolf by Night over while applying 10 power elsewhere, 5 in each lane, of course. With Dr. Doom, it's actually a pretty damn good play. Again, it's going to take some like very careful and deliberate deck building, but it is entirely possible. And if I can add a card, if we're going to be talking about animals here, okay, well, is Werewolf even an animal? I mean, it's a person who turns into an animal, I guess, but this is very specifically an animal. Number costed 3. Sorry, I don't know why I said number. At the 3 cost, Cosmo. Now, I have an argument for Cosmo here, okay? And I might be like a little bit of coping, but let me just throw this out there. If Cosmo's in a location by itself and it gets hit by Namora and it becomes a 3/8, what does someone do to get rid of it?
Yeah, we talked about this.
Nothing.
We talked about this at the opening of when we were looking at the cards. Yeah, let me ask you this. So, have you come around to this idea? Because remember, you were kind of like, if you make a deck with Colossus and Cosmo, then hats off to you. You've come around to this? You like this idea?
I've come around to it, yeah. I'm open for it.
So, this is perfect setup of the T that I wanted to go into the next conversation. What deck has Cosmo in it right now, or ongoing cards? Is it easier layup that's kicking ass?
Well, the Spectrum ongoing deck with Omega Red?
So hear me out. In the Spectrum ongoing decks, you want to be careful of not doing a lot of ongoing cards, right? Okay. Wong is in that deck. And I played Sage in a negative deck where I could add Wong. And every time you have Wong, you're like, it's working for me, but overall it's greedy. In the Spectrum deck, though, you play low-costed ongoing cards as simple as, to your point that you're bringing up, Cosmo in a lane by himself. What the hell are you going to do about that? No Shadow King, no Shang-Chi, no nothing, okay? Armor or Colossus. You call up Cope. Those are 3 cards that you can do literally just about nothing to. And they curve out to turn 4 to play Wong in. And that curves out to turn 5 to play Namora in. Which could curve out to turn 6 to play Spectrum in. Even if you don't get all those popping off, you have yourself a very good-ass hand.
Oh, no question. Like, I kind of did come around to it. I mean, if we're full copium and we think that, like, even Colossus is a beneficiary here, then you'll have to see it, honestly. I do think that there might be some hope for Cosmo, right? There definitely can be. I still think that, like, I think ultimately the move-style cards will probably where it lands most often. I think that people are going to salivate over the idea of a 2/8 Jeff over, not 2/8 Jeff. What am I talking? 2/7 Jeff over a 3/8 Cosmo. But I still think that like the ability to just make sure that, hey, that Cosmo is going to be there. I guess Magneto can pull it into another location is technically a counter to some degree. But outside of that, like, it's pretty foolproof.
It is a 2/8, by the way. She's given +5. So it is a 2/8 Jeff that you're going to be getting, which is...
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Jeff is a 2 power. I thought for some reason 2 cost, not 2 power. I'm sorry. It's...
No, dude, you're good. You're good. But to the point, usually you would not be playing Colossus, right? But Colossus can't be destroyed. You would have armor in that deck too. I'm thinking you'd probably even go definitely Ant-Man there, and then you could try to be playing out, the Wong into the Ant-Man lane, into Namora there as well, into Spectrum. And then you're just really helping 2 lanes out, and then you can just have the Ant-Man feasting by himself as well, potentially. Like, those are the different play lines you can go in. But then the best thing is, if you don't get any of those, like, it's just a great ongoing deck that it is. And now you don't have to have Spectrum, maybe. You can maybe make this deck work out because the Spectrum deck really falls flat if you don't have that pop-off finish at the end there, right? So I don't know, man. It's got some promise. That deck alone, plus we just talked about maybe some Surfer stuff, independent synergy with She-Hulk. You've got the move cards. You have the Werewolf by Night, the Captain Marvel, and you have ramp decks. There's a lot to experiment here, and I think that Namora might be getting slept on.
The only challenge, we got to talk about the challenges too, right? I mean, the prevalence of junk, I think, is going to be a problem, right? Something as simple as debris will ruin it. Green Goblins will ruin it. There's so many different things that will ruin it. White Widow, which has a 24% play rate currently, will ruin it. But like, here's the thing. I don't think people are expecting Namora to be good. Like when we had a Nihilist come out and then everyone was playing a Nihilist or counters to a Nihilist, like it was a very frustrating experience. But I think that Namora, I don't know if everyone's just going to, Namora's out, I'm running junk for the next 48 hours.
Yeah, right.
I suspect people might just stick to their old, like, Hella discard style decks and just do their usual things, right? And you might be able to actually get away with playing Namora without junk being a major factor. But any junk card completely destroys it.
Yeah.
It makes things challenging. That's why I think even the movement-based cards could be advantageous, because you can move Jeff or you can move Nightcrawler or Nocturne into locations that have not been hit by White Widow or whatever. So you can still play Namora where there might be 2 cards where the White Widow has been played.
Yeah, you cannot build your deck's game plan around her, I think is the main thing. You need to have, like the decks we all mentioned, they have the main win condition, being Spectrum, being a ramp deck, rather than like, I get Namora, I win. I wonder if you could even plug her into like an Annihilus deck, right? Where you could theoretically Annihilus on 5, move the junk back over, or move, get rid of some of the cards on your lane, then you finish up with Namora, because obviously, Annihilus being played for a 6 power is something, but Annihilus going up to an 11 power is something else, right? So I do feel, kind of feel that a lot, and we're going to have to see if she's overrated, underrated. I've been coming in lower, but this one, I feel like there's some potential there. But to your point, there's a lot that can mess her up. And at the top of that list, what we always forget that can mess things up are locations, Alex. And that's going to take us to our next subject, man. Locations can obviously screw over plenty of cards in the game, and no more than Namora, because we have, I can't tell you how many locations in the game are putting out crap on the battlefield. We know this. We've seen this before, and it's obviously going to be a worry with her. One Central Park, and you literally every single lane is ruined at that point, right? Like, you're done. You can't do anything. So we're going to be doing a new segment here, guys, called Like It, Love It, Hate It. Or I guess Love It, Like It, Hate It. And Alex and I are going to go through, I got a list of locations here that I'm going to name off. And you guys are welcome to, shout to the ether as well. If you love it, like it, hate it. And then we're going to talk about it a little bit. For those that don't know, we will say what I know we've gotten this feedback before. We will say what the locations do, so that if you are not sweaty and make your life around this game like we do, you can be reminded. And I think Alex and I have some different takes. I tried to go mainly with like the favorites and the hateds, not a lot of middle grounds. And we'll start with there. I want to start with New York. So guys, New York, you can move on turn 6 your cards to that said location. Alex, love it, like it, hate it.
Hate it.
See, you hate it. You hate it. Tell me why.
I just think it makes like the board placement mean nothing throughout the course of the game. I often go with the mind game of like not moving anything. I almost never move anything into the New York location. But I do think that it kind of ruins the feel of when I play turn 1 or when I play turn 2, like these placements matter. To some degree, it makes it less meaningful.
Oh, I like it. So I like it. I like the mind games. I don't love it, but I like it. I like the mind games it plays. I like that if there's junk or Cosmo messing up your play, easily shift it around. You can get your combo plays off a lot easier. Let's say you had a Wong out, and now he's like with 2 cards, put Wong by himself. I like it. And that's where I think there's going to be some differences here. Okay, fair enough. Wasn't expecting an immediate hate out of Alex. Bar Sinister.
Sinister, I like it. I don't love it. I know it's one of the absolute favorites out there. I like it though. I think it's totally fine. I don't know if I love it as a hot location, because then like everyone's just playing like
not hotter features. None of these
decks,
are being hot. Yeah, no hot featured locations here. Just like it shows up in a regular game of Snap.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I like it.
Yeah, I do too. I like it when you can't prepare for it. I think I love it when you can't prepare for it. When it's a hot location, to your point, it's like Green Goblins are coming out. But I love it because you have to play this game of like, are they going to change it? Are they going to get benefit from it? Then, do something shifty? Are they waiting till turn 6? And most of the time, like there are some cards like Venom that are extremely annoying. Obviously, White Widow. But a lot of times it just like kind of makes interesting gameplay and it changes the flavor of the game. And for me, that's what I'm looking for. So it's a love it for me. How about Danger Room?
Danger Room. I don't hate it. But I wouldn't say I like it either. Like there's got to be some sort of like middle option. But if I had to pick between hate and like, I like it. Even though Danger Room knocked me out of Conquerors in like literally a 10-round match I had with Dara. Where basically you were commentary. You're doing commentary. Remember when I used the Legion to make everything Danger Room? And I literally lost the game because he got all his cards to land and just my one card died and I got knocked out because of it. So actually I hate Danger Room now that I think about it.
So I forgot already. I just screwed up, guys. Bar Sinister makes 4 copies of the card that you play in Danger Room. When you play a card, it has the chance to be destroyed. 25% chance. That 25 for me is 75. I hate it. I hate it. I'll even do the whole like, you know what? I'm gonna play on here on turn 2 just to get out of the way. You know, put a little pressure. Card dies. I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe turn 3. Card dies. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. And then they play something and it lasts. It's a hate it for me. It's a like it for Alex. This one might be controversial. District X replaces your entire deck with random cards. Love it, like it, hate it.
Hate it. It bothers me. Like every time I'm like trying to make content and it comes up, I just retreat because I'm like, this is a waste of everyone's time. You know what I mean? Like this sucks so bad. Like it's just so annoying. I didn't I almost don't mind that it exists.
Okay.
Because I think it adds a little bit of like variance to the game that just might be, hey guys, you think you're playing meta decks? No, you're not.
Yep.
Like here you go, right? I don't mind that it exists, but I don't like it. So I'm gonna say I hate it.
I feel like for me, well, obviously content creating is a whole nother game. I would say that's an absolute hate for me. I feel like it depends on the deck that I'm playing. If I'm playing obviously a combo heavy deck, it's miserable because you're sitting there with like a Wong and a Spectrum, but you have no ongoing cards or something, right? If I'm playing like a deck that is fine on just value plays or a Mockingbird, then obviously, you know, this is one that I think I'm going to go with like. I think it's interesting to try to on the fly have a draft mode almost all of a sudden where you have to like just figure out what to do and know nothing about your opponent. I think it adds to the game for sure. Machine World. When you play a card, it gives opponent a copy of that card.
I mean, this is as neutral as I possibly could be.
Okay.
I lean towards hate it,
I think
but
I hate it.
I definitely don't like it.
I think I hate it. I think I hate it like I hate like Daily Bugle because I swear it's always like, all right, guys, I have Doom, Mockingbird, and, you know, one other great card I don't want them to have. And they always get the card you don't want, man. So I think I would agree there. Okay. All right. We have a lot more to go here. I'm going to keep listing them off. Let's get a couple out of the way that should just be easy. These should just be instant bangers on the top of the head. Great Web.
That's the most hateable card in the game. Hateable location, I should say. Easily one of the most hateable locations. And for those that don't know, the Great Web is going to be the one that randomly pulls a card into the location. It always screws up everything. I absolutely hate it to the point where I often try to fill it first, so that I know it's not going to mess me up.
It would be less bad if it brought 2 cards, like one from the opponent, one from your side, right? Because when it picks, you just feel like you're getting screwed over so many times, and I can't. Arguably, we'll give our awards out at the end. I would arguably give that the worst location in the game. It is right there. There's like probably 3 I have in contention. That one might take the cake. I'll bring up another one later. But yeah, that's an easy hate it for both of us. What about Sinister London?
Sinister London. I don't mind it. I think I like it. I don't love it. Because
you haven't given a love out. You're a man that doesn't give a lot of love.
This is close to love though, because I think it really changes the way you use board space. Because it's obviously replicating the card you're playing to that location. So I'm close to love. I don't quite love it, but I'm close. I really like it. I like it. Okay,
fair enough. All right, I think I used to like it more than I do now, if that makes sense, right? I would almost throw this in. Sinister London, if you play a card, it puts another card on another location. We've gotten so many cards that are just like, it's tough when you get, you lose right away when you're playing certain decks. And I think that can be tough. It's almost how I feel about Sanctum Sanctorum, which I'm going to actually put in hate it. I used to like it. I hate it now because I feel like if you're not playing a move deck, you lose. And with how many move decks there are out there, it lost its feel to me a little bit. Like, so both of those used to be higher up on my list, and they both have moved down a little bit.
Yeah, they're terrible. Absolutely terrible. Like Sanctorum is just weird because like, oh, the silk's there, so I guess I just lose, right? Or
Yeah,
whatever.
you can't
Yeah,
play
it
there.
can be pretty frustrating. It doesn't seem like a fair fight in a lot of those circumstances. But I mean, a lot of locations are like that. There's a like Altar of Death Destroy, right? Which obviously they've reduced the frequency of those appearing,
Yeah.
but still, right? There's some locations that will naturally benefit specific archetypes.
What about Hala? Hala, whenever whoever's lower power, their cards are destroyed on turn 4.
I think that's honestly one of the worst locations of the game. I hate it so much. I
Oh, I
think it's
like it.
dumb. Like
I like it.
I hate it. It's like, why decide the game like that? You know what
I
I mean?
like
Usually
it.
people just don't play into it. The only time I really like it is when I'm holding dark. I can't even. I was just thinking about old Darkhawk because you'd played on 4.
See, I like Hala. I do. I like Hala. By the way, sorry, we had a brief sound thing we had to cut out. I like Hala because it is... I like the challenge. I like the challenge of like, okay, they play there, I've played there. Usually the games I'm in, it's like, okay, like you're committing, I'm committing. Let's just see who got the better draw or whatever. I don't love Hollow when it's like location 3 and they played early and then I'm like, oh, I'm screwed here, right? But when they have like Ravona on there and then they follow up and they're just like trying to win it and you beat it, you know you're going to beat it. It just, to me, that one, I really like the mind. I think maybe it's mind game locations that I prefer. So yeah, I'll put that there. What about Mount Vesuvius? Turn 5 and later, after turn 5, you cannot retreat.
Fan of it. I'm not gonna say I hate it. I hate it more than I don't actually. I'm gonna go hate it. I don't like the idea of like taking agency away from the player in such a fundamental mechanic of the game. I understand why they thought it'd be a cool idea, but in fact, it's like when you're playing with people's actual rank, their cubes and stuff like that. I think it's a very frustrating experience.
How about you give me a location that you love? Because the locations are such a core part of this game, bro. And you're like, yeah, F that location. Yeah, hate it, maybe like it, hate it like. What do you love?
Okay, here's a bit of a hot take, one that I actually have come to really appreciate, and I really like Negative Zone. And not because I play Luke Cage or anything like that. It provides -3 to cards there. But I like the idea that it punishes people that like need to zoo into it. I like the idea of like, oh, I'm playing Magneto and I could pull cards there and favorably trade. I like the idea that, you basically, you have to put consideration as to how many cards you put there, the size of the cards that are put there. Shang-Chi is no longer as effective there. I think it's an ideal location from a strategic standpoint because of how it impacts so many moving pieces on the board.
Dude, I think opinions are so cool, man. I think like the fact that like I would never put that in like or love, like even close. I wouldn't even I would put that in automatic hate fest, but you like it. And I think that's what's cool about the game and locations and opinions on both cards. And we don't do a lot of location talk here on the Snapchat. Don't know why. It's literally such a core piece of the game. But Negative Zone, by the way, is -3, right? -3, -4. Yeah, -3.
-3.
For every card that is played there. Okay, that is a hot take. What about the Raft?
The Raft, I don't mind. I'm going to say I like it. The reason for this is because I feel like it has the counterbalance of people that zoo into it very aggressively very early on, especially if they don't have like a Jeff or a Nightcrawler or some way to move out of it after it's been filled. They'll overcommit in a weak position. They'll have like 7 power there just because they wanted the free 6-drop. So and it's like almost a guaranteed win in that location, and their 6-drop might be like Zola, right? So I actually really like that location. I think it's strategically very interesting. But naturally, anybody that has movement-based cards can really just kind of have their cake and eat it too.
Exactly. That's the thing I don't love. Again, it's probably one like that I talked about earlier. Maybe I liked it a lot more than I do now. But we are getting some unique 6 costs now more in the game, and almost everyone has value outside of maybe Apocalypse these days, like of getting generated for you. And then it's a risk, like you're kind of giving up the other locations. But it also feels like a lot of the time, like who got lucky enough to have on-curve play? Like that's how it feels most of the time. Not crazy about that. Top hated location in the game, probably right up there with the Great Web, is Atilian. There's pretty much nothing to like about this location, yeah?
Yeah, that location sucks. I absolutely hate it.
Totally.
And it's unfortunate because like not only did the Inhumans suck on Disney Plus,
yeah,
but now the location for the Inhumans on the moon sucks too. They just can't catch a break. They can't catch a win. I don't think there's a single person out there that likes the location now. It's awful. It's a definite hate.
No, when it shuffles your hand again and gives you 3 cards, for those that don't know. So like you might think you have yourself your game-winning play. There are very few times where you don't have what you need and you're like, you know what? Fine, let's do it. Like let's roll. But a lot of the times, it's typically not the case. You usually have what you want. What about Lamentus?
Lamentus sucks. I'm not into it.
Right? Like, I don't know.
I'm going hate, man.
Yeah, I
It's
think
like
I'm
it's
going
so
hate.
it's so cringe every time.
I think I'm going hate. Definitely, I hated Attilian, by the way, for those who want to know. I'm definitely not a fan of that. Yeah, I feel like Lamentus, I think it's because of the destroy meta for so long that I just like, I just got, again, it's like luck of the draw almost, and you just kind of hope. Here's an interesting one. By the way, we're terrible at this. I guess I need to read it, then say it every time. Lamentus destroys your whole deck, lets you draw out till you have a max hand, then you play from there. Sakar plays a card for you once the turn ends. Like it, love it, hate it.
I kind of lean towards hate it.
I think I'm the same. I do. I think I used to like this location, and then I feel like I get screwed, or like my ace in the hole is always played, or something.
That's exactly
happens.
it.
It is, right?
Every single time, dude.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm planning to do, it like gets ripped out of my hand. I'm like, cool. There's my Spectrum on turn 2. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it always sucks. It never pulls the card I need. It always pulls and they always get like the perfect play. Like it pulls their Infinite into their armored location. I'm like, of course it did.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right. Two more. We got Quantum Tunnel. It swaps a card played out for a card in the deck. Love it, like it, hate it.
Hate it.
You hate Quantum?
Dude, this was just, dude, the funny thing about this, I can't believe you picked this one. The Quantum Realm was the one that I literally tilted out on like
Not
2
Realm,
weeks ago.
Tunnel. What Tunnel? Realm's the one that sets to 2. Tunnel's the swap out.
See, even I'm getting confused. I hate them both, to be honest.
You hate them both. I hate Realm. Tunnel, I like Tunnel. I do like Tunnel. But yeah, Realm is pretty bad. You hate them both. You hate all locations. You must be miserable playing this game. Unless you get like 3 Nova Romas, then Alex is always like, Nova Roma. That's the.
I love Nova Roma. Who hates Nova Roma? You draw a card for free? Ain't nobody complaining.
But you never
about
talk
that.
about Olympia. You never talk about Olympia, which gives you 2 cards.
It's too many cards, man.
Oh my god. Oh, I can't. Deep Space is interesting.
Hate it. You're disabling cards. You're playing a card game because cards can do things.
No, I hate it too.
You have a location that says cards aren't cards anymore.
Mindscape.
Hate it. That's easy though.
Okay, hey.
Who likes Mindscape? If you like Mindscape, give your head a shake, man. Like, what are we talking about here?
I'm gonna say I love it, like it, hate it. Marvel Snap. Like.
I love it.
Okay. All right. I was taken back by a lot of those, man. I know one we both like firmly disagree on differently is it what is it Talon 4? I forgot the name of it. Where it swaps it for a random card of the same
Tarnax,
cost.
isn't it?
Tarnax, yeah.
I absolutely hate it.
Dude, Talon's a Star Wars location. I love it. I think that's such a fun location. I love the chaos. That's like right up there. That's right up my alley, man. And you have to like strategically, not really. There's really not a lot of strategy there, but like I don't know. There's a couple cards that pop off better than others. Most of these locations is like not only destroy help, but on reveal. You have such a big advantage for if you have on reveal.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, what I'm thinking about right now, like, what is my favorite location in the game? I think I know what it is now.
Let's end on that.
And it's hard to get because you got to play Rhino to get it. I obviously am a Ruins gamer.
You're a Ruins guy. Yeah. That makes sense. I thought you were going to hit me with like World Ship or something where it destroys all the locations except for one. Actually, let me throw you one more. X Mansion. What do you feel about X Mansion?
Hate it. Come on. They don't even give you X-Men. They're not even giving you X-Men. That is the easiest patch note of all time, Second Dinner. Makes X-Mansion only give X-Men. That's it. And it literally lowers the variance by such a wide degree. It's flavorful. It makes lore sense. I don't understand why this hasn't been changed yet. I hate it.
Guys, remember last time we tried to play a game on here? I think it was Snap It or Pass It or something, and we couldn't play that game because Alex was destroying the game as we played it. This is the last time I will ever play a game with Alex here because Like It, Love It turned into Hate It, Like It, Nova Roma. So that is going to be it for us. I think my nomination of most hated is Great Web. My nomination of most loved, it depends.
I bet you Sinister London wins most loved.
Probably as a whole. I think for me, I like Elysium just because that's always fun. It's always chaotic. It's always a good time.
I hate it because they're always playing Mobius. I'm Mobius.
What's your most liked location?
I don't even know if I like a location, dude.
All right, guys, that concludes such a fun, great segment. So glad I did the research and put all of this together for the hated list for Alex. Let us know down in the comments below. What do you love? What do you like? What's your most hated, most loved location? We're going to read and try to respond to pretty much all the comments there. That is going to take us, though, however, to our favorite cards at every single cost. Alex and I's segment that we don't hate, we actually love. And as always, we go through every single cost in the game, and we say what cards we're currently loving in the season. Doesn't mean it's the best. It just means it's our current favorite. Let's get rid of Namora. Let's head into it. Alex, kick us off. Favorite one cost.
Okay, so at one cost here, I got a bit of an interesting one, and it's a bit of a cheat because it's a bit of a combo. But I'm going to say Nova. And the reason for this is because... Yeah, I know. Listen, so I know that Nova is not getting enough love right now. It's getting almost no love whatsoever. I told you I've been playing lots of Surfer. And Nova is very often like a 1-7. Like, when I play with Killmonger, which is obviously the combo I'm referring to, the amount of straight up power it puts on the board is incredible. I'm not even thinking about how, like, oh, it actually does, like, basically +3 to Sebastian Shaw in and of itself. And so Sebastian Shaw really likes these, like, incremental bursts of power, right? We actually brought it up during the Namora conversation.
Yep.
I just think that Nova, from a power perspective, is doing way more than we're giving it credit for. Moreover, I've been playing and experimenting with a bit of a Nimrod deck that I kind of want to get out there at some point, trying to like min-max it a little bit. And Nova's a key component of that because I can play Nova out early. I can play something like a Shuri Nimrod, and then when I destroy her or something like that, because of the play order, Nova's going to proc, buff the Nimrods, and then they replicate. So I do think that Nova does a deceptive amount of power. It's probably being one of the more slept-on cards at the one-cost slot.
I like it. It's a different pick, and I think obviously, you could go with like Nebula, Sunspot. We could go with these cards. This one, I agree. Like anytime I see someone play it, the respect's there. It's crazy how this card used to dominate the game as well. For me, maybe it's a slept-on, not so much with some decks, but we definitely have. Neither of us have ever nominated it as our favorite. This season specifically, I'm going to go with Squirrel Girl, man. I think this card is super clutch a lot of the times. There's a trap of playing it on turn 1. I think that's the thing that people try to do often. Maybe not the best decision. But what I love about it is that you simply have a mini Doctor Doom in a lot of cases in the decks that you play. And the fact that Mockingbird is kicking A, the fact that you've got Patriot decks back in there a little bit, it's a great fill-up to Dazzler, to Zoo decks, and it's one that I've played more than ever.
Everyone watching the video version watched Cozy hover Quicksilver for like 4 seconds there. I got nervous for a second. I'm like, what is this absolute copium that's about to hit us here?
Quicksilver is just great. He make people think I'm a bot. Yeah, no, never. I hope we would never pick that. Squirrel Girl is my one. 2, I have a fun pick. What's your 2?
So my 2, okay, there's a card that we've talked about before, and it is Quake. It is an absolute stealer of cubes. I can't tell you, I've been trying to add Quake to more decks, even if I feel like there's a better, like, synergistic card that I could have in the 2 slot. I'm like, no, I'm adding Quake, because every time Quake is in my deck, I steal cubes. I tear them out of people's hands. 8 cube games are won and lost off Quake, and so I've been trying to force Quake into a lot of my deck builds, even when I want to put something else. I'm like, no, Quake, damn it. It has been such a great performer in the entire game of Marvel Snap. From a cube rate perspective, this might be one of the absolute slept-on cards of Marvel Snap.
It is.
It has to.
It has that 12th card mentality, but my God, she deserves to be in the deck. She wins. She's not. I think what it is like maybe she's not as consistent as people would hope, but she can win you 8 cubes. And like, if you want to be a 2-cube Andy, go for it. But if you want to get the 8 cubes, man, Quick's the way to go. For me, dude, I will die on the hill. I think that she gets slept on way too much. We're seeing her get included more. People are playing like ramp decks or ways to cheat out. They're trying to do this, that, the other, maybe wave, maybe that. I think Pixie is just an absolute banger of a card. I love Pixie. I love her gameplay. I love her cost assignment. Curves right into what you're doing. If it doesn't work out and some things get fudged up, that's okay. If you get a 2-cost Ultron, you probably win. Like, she legit gives you straight up win conditions, but also, if you can build your deck the correct way, I usually load it with about 3 6s, a couple 1s, 3 2s, a couple 3s. That's the way to go with it. I just don't know the crazy downside. She reminds me of Nico, where people are like, she's too random. I don't see it. I think she's a great way to ramp and cheat out cards early. You can get away with playing Onslaughts with a Doctor Doom, win that Patriot deck. Like, it's stuff like that that I think is phenomenal, and Pixie gets my win here.
Pixie has been gaining in popularity lately, and I understand why. The amount of snap equity it gets is insane. But not just that. When I'm playing against a Pixie player, I have no idea what their deck looks like anymore. Like when you're playing competitively, and we've joked about this in the past, you can almost identify the 12 cards in the person's deck based on the first card they play.
Yep.
Like when you're at a higher level and you're tuned in with the meta and they play Quinjet, you know you're against a Loki player, right? Like you're tipped off. I mean, Nico, we're against a Destroy gamer. Like you almost tipped off all the time. When someone plays Pixie, all of your assumptions go out the window. You're not able to fully prepare for what turn 5 or 6 is going to look like because they can literally play Sentry and Annihilus on the same turn.
Yeah.
So it's like everything gets thrown out the window there, and Pixie's a major part of disrupting the expectations of your opponent.
100%, man. Glad you agree. Just a lot of fun. Appreciate it. All right, buddy. That takes us to 3 cost, and kick us off, man.
At 3 costs, I mean, there's been a card that I think, I'm not going to say was slept on. People thought it was going to be okay, but it's been one of my absolute favorite cards. It's Red Guardian. I feel like I bring it up all the time. I can't stop playing this card. It's such a confident card to add to so many decks. I know there's like this rhetoric that, hey, you can cut Red Guardian from everything. I'm going to challenge you to not cut Red Guardian from everything because I think it is so damn good. It's so impactful. It eats Angela's, right? Like Angela's like, hey, look at me. I'm going to get to 12 power. Boom. No, you're not. Dracula's get destroyed. It has such a great play line on turn 3 for Nebulas and pretty much everything that's sitting out there. Nova's my top card. Just hates getting Red Guardian. I love the card. I think it's a fantastic addition to anybody's collection.
Yeah, no, funny enough, that's mine. So I definitely have Red Guardian too. And it's because, yeah, a lot of the just lower cost cards, like people are trying to combo off of. Even something as simple as Ant-Man, you just shut down easy. It's a great way. Now, there's sometimes it's frustrating. Great example is Ravonna's a 3-power card. There's a lot of 3 powers. You try to target the Ravonna, you hit something else. But that's going to happen. But a lot of the times it doesn't matter because you're still pushing that negative power. Still a 3/5, still a great card, good tech card. Fully agree, buddy. Fully agree. Going to 4 cost. There's always a lot of 4s to pick from, bud. Is there one that jumps out to you?
I want to hear yours first because I keep going first. And I'm interested in hearing where Cozy's thinking number 4.
I think this one's not tough this month because of the revival of the card that really got no play. I think it's Jubilee. I think I don't.
That's the same one for me. That's what I was wondering. Are you going to pick Jubilee?
Well, I'm wondering what your 5 is, bro. I mean, I'm sure we're both going to go with the same on 4 and 5 if I had to guess. But Jubilee... yeah, man, like no one was playing the card. The card got some love during the Lockjaw meta. It's just a fun card. It's a gambling card. You definitely, it's not as safe as a lot, but because of the arrival of the 5 cost we'll talk about next, Blink, just a great time to not only get a big time energy cheat out there potential, but also guaranteed potential with Blink. It was a no-brainer for me, and even more because of X-Men 97. I mean, did you guys see her fight Bastion? Awesome stuff.
I have not actually had a chance to see that yet. I'm a little behind on X-Men 97, and hopefully by next week I'll be caught up. It's one of my go-tos for the week whenever I'm going to be laying in bed and I can't quite sleep. I'm just going to pull up some X-Men 97. I got to catch up. I hear it's pretty damn hype. But yeah, like honestly, and for 5 costs, like I'm going to say that like obviously Blink has been absolutely incredible. I'm going to move off of Blink though. Like Blink could very easily be the 5 cost thus far favorite. It's been truly remarkable. But I'm going to give a shout out to the best card in Marble Snap, and that is Darkhawk. I've actually been enjoying playing Darkhawk, and one of the major reasons why is because Leech doesn't really affect Darkhawk that much. A lot of the disruption that comes out early in Korg and Rockslide come out before Leech. The Darkhawk just eats the Leech effect. Like, hey, thank you. That didn't affect me at all. And so, like, I feel like Darkhawk's been in a pretty decent spot considering the Leech meta. So for me, I've kind of fallen back in love with Darkhawk, and I got an absolutely dirty split on it, which is a reason for me to play the card even more.
The Hawk is back. I don't know how you don't pick Blink, bro. New card or not, best card by far in a long time. Too fun, too meta, great in every deck. It's a no-brainer, and you're usually the king of picking, like, the new cards. Like, no matter what. Dude, Blink is it, man. Blink is just... It is such a greatly designed card that, maybe feels too strong in some cases, but most of the time, it's just it rewards a lot of critical thinking in the game, maybe deck tracking. But I enjoy what it brought to the game, and definitely like an effect that I didn't know that I wanted. A more polished Jubilee that happens to work with Jubilee. And so with like honor reveals, and there's just, because of its synergy with the possibility of turning a 1 to a 6, you've got the high roll, but then you also have the guaranteed roll. Love Blink and everything about her. Lastly, we in that 6 cost. I think for me, this one was simple. Alex, I'll let you kick it off.
Okay, so I'm going to draw some anger here, but in my defense, okay, this is an archetype that, although I've liked and appreciated, I traditionally have never really played that much of because everyone hated it, and I'm a streamer and a content creator, and I don't want to play stuff that people hate. But I couldn't stop myself. When Blink came out, I played some Hella, man. I played some Hella, a lot of Hella, in fact. And I got to tell you, I actually really liked it. Now, keep in mind, I know like everyone's like, Alex, we're sick of Hella. If anything that's positive about Leech is that Hella is being impacted by Leech, right? I get it, okay? It's annoying as hell. But Corvus Glaive into the Hella plays just has been chef's kiss. It's so good. When you add in Blink to the mix, it adds this level of consistency that's just remarkable. It's really a phenomenal deck, and I traditionally have not played a lot of Hella because it's kind of like the reason why I have not played a ton of Galactus, because people are like, Alex, you dirtbag, how dare you play Galactus, or how dare you play Hella. I've had to wait till play Loki till no one wanted to play Loki because everyone gets mad when you play the meta stuff. Yeah, I gotta tell you, man, Hella's so fun. I've been really liking it.
How do you sleep at night?
I can't. I don't. We've established this.
Yeah, right. I'm not sleeping anyway, so I might as well play things that don't help me sleep. Listen, for me, man, we all know it, all right? I'm always on the fence picking this card regardless, but because I got a buff, I have to. I mean, this will probably, if we do this segment for like a while to come, this will probably get my vote for the next like 3 months. It's got to be your boy Ultron, man. Coming back, it just feels great. I also love, obviously, getting the locations you can't reach, but I love being able to get him out, and you don't have to play on the location with 3 cards all the time, right? Like, if you're like, actually, if I play him here, I think I have a bit better of a chance, or if they try to read it. There are so many ways to play him that isn't an obvious tell, which I also enjoy. Like, one example, I think Storm is such an underrated synergy with this guy. It's fantastic, especially because you're doing nothing, and you can put 8 power on that location doing nothing, and that's if you don't have any other synergy. He just works with the game that I play anyway, and is a fantastic card that's only going to get better as people, once again, forget about the Master of Puppets over here. But yeah, that's going to be it for our favorite cards at every cost. We enjoy doing it each and every time. And Alex, another great week of the Snapchat. Next week, we head into the Sasquatch. And then we will be into our, I can't believe it, already into our next season, man. So crazy stuff. We're about to be headed into a pretty wild season at that. And as always, we'll break all that down. But we're going to be breaking down all the hate on Alex's side and talk about the cards that are most hated, as well as Sage in review. Did she hold up to a 2.5, which I gave her, and I think Alex gave her a 3. We'll have to see our final verdicts. And, of course, the Snapchat mailbag. You guys have a good one. Have a great one. Happy Monday, guys, and happy snapping.